Hello, and welcome to week 7. I just wanted to give some small updates on class and grading. All of the tests are currently graded now, and your discussions and blog posts are all up to date. So the grade that you see in Grade Center is your total currently going into this week, and midterm grades will be posted probably at some point before March 7th is when they're due. So I should be posting those sometime within the next week or so. I'm not exactly sure when. I'll send out an email when that's done. I think probably after this week I'll start kind of thinking about final grades and all of that. Anyway, with that in mind, I wanted to talk about some possible reasons why some of you may have lost points on either your discussion or your blog. Please remember with discussion posts, all discussion posts require not only your original post, which should be around 250 words, but also 2 peer comments, which should be around 100 words each at least. And then for your blogs, you're not required to post comments on other people's blogs. But, and as I mentioned before, the blogs are your space to be creative. But my purpose for the blog is kind of twofold. First, that you have a space to kind of be creative and work out your thoughts, especially moving through the projects. But also it's a place for you to engage with the readings, and a place where I can be sure that you're doing the readings in a timely manner. So make sure that you're discussing the reading somewhere in your blogs. You can be creative in your blogs, but just you might want to reflect. For instance, if you work through some dialogue or something, you might want to reflect on how the reading this week helped you or informed your creativity for that piece. Okay, and if you have any questions about your grade or any thoughts or concerns, or if you want to talk to me about that at all, remember you can always email me, or you can have a conference, we can talk on the phone, any of that. So, okay, so this week I wanted to talk about drafting, because your draft's not going to be due for a little bit, but I wanted to talk about some invention strategies in particular to get you started thinking about what you will do for your draft for a workshop. So, and also part of the discussion board post for this week, or you'll have to pick one of these invention strategies and use that for your discussion board post, which I'll talk about at the end of this here. Okay, so your invention strategies, when we go into a project, especially if we're not particularly inspired, right? Sometimes the inspiration hits us and we're just overcome with the urge to write. But a lot of times, especially with genres you're not familiar with or comfortable writing in, many of you mentioned you'd never really heard of creative nonfiction before. Maybe the inspiration doesn't strike you. So then, as a writer, instead of just kind of shutting off and not writing, we go to these invention strategies to maybe trigger inspiration in some way. So I want to give you some really good ones that I like to use and that more established writers in creative nonfiction also use. The first one is journaling. Journaling is a great way to go about this, and this could be journaling your day-to-day thoughts and reflections, or even your observations about the world. So if you don't want to keep a personal journal, you might, for instance, go and sit in Starbucks or sit on campus and write down conversations around you, write down your observations about buildings, about people, anything that you're thinking of, even nature journaling. I think someone mentioned Walden and things like that. So that kind of connection with nature, thinking about politics, anything like that, you can put into a journal, which later you can maybe take a piece of and make into a creative nonfiction piece. Another option is free listing. This is where you choose a subject and list as many things as come to mind as you can. So, for instance, I might choose a subject of foods I've eaten and list as many foods I've eaten as possible. And through that, I might trigger some remembrance of a really strange or emotionally resonant meal that I had with a family member or with a friend. Or I might think of a time when I was in another country and I ate something that I wasn't typically exposed to, and that might create or generate a story too. You could also free list qualities of your father or something like that, and that'll bring you even closer to character sometimes too. Another invention strategy are line starters, and that goes a few ways. There are a few ways you can do this. You can kind of look through books or poems or things like that for the ways that people start their pieces and use those lines to kind of jump off into your own reflections or your own writing. Or here's some tried and true line starters for you. These work especially well to kind of retrieve memories that lead to memoir or kind of more personal writing. So one is, I used to blank, but now I blank. So any two words that you could put in there. I remember blank. I don't remember blank. So I don't remember, for instance, when I learned to tie my shoes. I don't remember the last time my parent held me in their arms. But I do remember, so kind of going off of those line starters. Another one is, if I had to do it again, I would blank. So if I had to take a class again or something like that. A saying I always heard around the house was blank. For me, I might say a saying I always heard around the house is, if you do something 20 times, it becomes a habit. So that might lead me to talking about something that I tried to do and make it a habit that either failed or was successful. The first time I heard the song blank, we were blank. So this might be a more musical reflection. I know some of you are particularly interested in music. Blank is the sort of person who blank. So going off the family thing, my mother is the sort of person who stuffs all of her receipts into one drawer, right? So a little fact like that, you could jump off into a story. And then the last one that I'm going to mention here is, one rule I never live by is blank. So think about something you never do, a rule that maybe everyone else follows that you refuse to follow. And that could be interesting and unique way of talking about yourself or entering into a story. The next one is a memory chain, and I'm going to read you a little passage by James Moffat here, who developed this idea of the memory chain. He says, you choose an object in the room. Say it's a water bottle. You ask yourself what the water bottle reminds you of and wait for a memory to arise. Maybe it's the time you went to the supermarket and your sons put a case of Poland Spring water bottles on the bottom of the shopping cart and neither you nor the checkout person noticed, and you walked out of the store without paying for them. And that reminds you of the time your daughter got caught shoplifting. Sexy underwear, no less, and how upset you were with her, and how you made her write a letter of apology to the store, and how she yelled at you that you just didn't understand. And that reminds you of the time that you, at age 13, shoplifted lipstick and wished you'd had the courage to apologize. So you see, you kind of find an object and let the memories chain off of them by association until you come to some idea. But for invention, you just kind of let it go and go as long as the chain will go at this point. The next one is clustering, which is kind of related. I'm sure some of you have done this for other writing classes or ideas. That's where you take a piece of paper. I have an example here in this book. Hopefully you can see it here of this cluster. You take an idea and you write a word in the center of a circle. In this example here, they have the word purple. And then you can branch off with lines and new circles, and they use sunset and lively, which I don't really think of a purple as being a sunset. But it's kind of, you think of words that go out and out and out until you come to another idea that maybe will make you inspired to write a larger piece, perhaps even around kind of one word. Another idea is to use photographs to trigger. This can be pictures from your childhood. This can be pictures that you have around the house, pictures that you find in a book or online. Those can trigger ideas. You can find a picture, for instance, of a former you. So you, but maybe a moment that you don't really remember. That's an interesting way to reflect back on yourself, or maybe your mother when she was much younger, before you knew her. All of those things can generate ideas and thoughts. Another way is through making a map. You can actually physically draw a map, and this will help you remember things too. For instance, your childhood home, your bedroom, the street you grew up on. You can make a map of your best friend's house. You can make a map of an imaginary place that you went to as a child even. That would be a really interesting and lyric way to approach this. But if you're more of a visual person, I think, Sam, you mentioned you enjoy art. You might draw a physical map to enter into this assignment. Another way is research. We've talked about research a little bit, and the Brian essay, he used research, but another way to use research, I don't know if any of you have read the Maggie Nelson lyric hybrid genre piece called Bluets. But in this book, she researches blue, and she researches, for instance, scientific ways our eyes see blue. She researches things like the bowerbirds who collect blue pieces for mating. Any possible thing related to blue, she researches. And really, she does this because she's obsessing over this color blue, but through her obsessive research and exploration and reactions to the color blue, we can see that she's also dealing with her own depression and her own sadness after a breakup. So all of this kind of clustered and moved together really unfolds a deeper meaning and a deeper connection to Maggie Nelson, the writer of this work. So if you're interested in research, or if you have a subject, for instance, when I was younger, I just obsessively researched Anastasia Romanoff. So there was something about her which interested me and connected me in a strangely kindred way, or someone like Anne Boleyn, someone that you feel a connection to. You might just start researching as much as possible, and then you can kind of talk your way through that and connect in a different way too. Another idea is to make a timeline. So to start, for instance, with your age. So start with infancy and think about what was happening inside you, internally and externally, and in the world at that time. So you can go through from infant to maybe 5 years old and think about, okay, what year was that? What was happening in the world? And what were you feeling emotionally? And what was happening with your family or outside of you? So the conflicts for each year of your life is another really interesting way to find and locate these memories. So let me move back here a minute. Oops. Okay, so for your discussion post this week, choose one of these that I've talked about. It does not have to be a finished piece. It only has to be around 250 words. You can just kind of start thinking about this. Choose one of these invention activities that you find the most interesting, and do it on the discussion board. And remember to comment on 2 classmates' posts. So now we'll go to this but. This is from a writer, Stephen Harvey. What makes writing of any kind, an art is not invention but shapeliness. The facts, the events, the invented flights of fancy do not make up a work of art. So invention is the first step here that we're doing, but it's not the whole of what will make this art or what will make this uniquely you. So you may want to do one of these. Of course, you'll do one of them in the discussion post, but maybe try doing all of them, and find which one speaks to you the most, because then you'll take kind of the clay created by one or more of these invention exercises and form it and shape it into something which eventually, I hope, will become art and something important to you. So, and we'll talk about that more next week, because it's not due this coming week, your creative nonfiction piece. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I look forward to reading what you do. Bye.